All right, good afternoon. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. There's a scene in Ghostbusters, if you remember that movie from back in the '80s, where there's a phone call into the Ghostbuster station, and it is answered by the secretary, and she shouts out and goes, "We got one!" And yells real loud. And today I'm working from home as my daughter is a little bit under the weather, and so it's just me, and she was coming into the room, and I yelled this, "We got one," when I ran the challenge scan here just about 10 minutes ago, and it is still a trigger here, so gonna go out and trade it. Alibaba is triggering bullish here today, and we have the 3-7 crossover on it. We have the stochastics 39.1 just shy of 50. We've seen this several times, but our 20-day moving average is very different than a lot of other 20s in the market, where it's not a big downward sloper. It's pretty even. Most of the time, we don't get triggers below the 20-day moving average, but given what the average true ranges have jumped to be, it's a little more common to see. When there's more volatility. So, gonna go out and trade it. Now, the option that I'm gonna go with here for Alibaba is the 3rd of April 20 calls. And I have to admit, these aren't the best options in the world in terms of the overall just cheapness of them. There is a price element here that's significant, a time decay element that's significant, but with Baba, it's not as bad as some other stocks. I'm going to show you Netflix here in a bit, but I can either do it. I'm looking at this and going, do I do 2 contracts of the 210s, or do I do 3 contracts of the 212 and a halves? And which ones do I run with here? A little more risk, a little more reward on the 212s and a halves, a little less risk, a little less reward on the 210s. If I did the 210s, I'm looking at 2 contracts, looking at 3 contracts on the 212s. So let's go do it here. Let's do the 312s and or the 212s, excuse me. Let's see here if we can split this spread a little bit. You'll notice the spread isn't exactly friendly here. All right, it gave it to us at 790. Never a good sign if you're looking for the lowest price when it fills a limit order that fast, but I'll take it. But ticker symbol BABA, price 790 here on 3 contracts, and this is the 3rd of April, 212.50 calls. Okay. All right. Let me make sure the alert goes out. We'll get everything filled in here. 212.38 is the stock price here. There we go. And today is 3/4, and this is the PM session. So it's been a while since we've had a signal or traded a signal here. So nice to get back into the game. 790 is the entry price on 3 contracts. Now the ATR on Alibaba is pretty high. It's 667. 667 here. So that is going to give us a exit level of 205.71 and a profit level of 225.72. 225.72 puts it right back into the February highs. That's what an upward trend would do. And the stop here is down here at the 205 level, 206 level. So be breaking below today's lows to get to that level. So let's get everything else in here. Current stock price, obviously 15-minute delay here on that. Auto exit date's going to be 3 days from today, which would be the 9th. So 3/9 p.m. and 3:11 p.m. Here. Currently going for 790. And yeah, we have 2,300 here on the trade. So it's our largest trade so far for the challenge. And it's one, though, that even from a percentage basis, still a little low for what we have in the challenge. And just given what the option is and some of the risk there, I decided to go with that here. Now, the Delta, Gamma, Theta, Vega, let's go take a look at it here. We have a delta of 155, a theta of 36. So 155, 36, and then our Vega, which is something you just have to realize comes into play in this market, 76. So we have about 3, 4, 5 points of Vega risk here on the trade as well. So about $400, $300 to $400 worth of Vega risk is out there. So like I said, they're not the best options in the world. They're not, they're not like what we have traded with GOLD or with Starbucks. But given the environment, given where some of the other stocks are, it's pretty decent, and I can't complain there too much. Now Netflix didn't trigger, has an upside crossover, but isn't triggering. But if we look at Netflix and the options here for this stock, just take a look at the same strike price or date. Look at the spread; it's $1.30 here. And then if you look, it just the Vega on it is 50 cents, the Theta is 30 cents, and this is something where we could see about 12 points of Vega come out. So there's about $6 worth of implied volatility risk in this. Which is just massive, just massive. So flat on Netflix would crush the options in a pretty sizable and significant significant way here. Okay, now there are a lot of crossovers going on out there in the market today. Let me pull them up here and show it to you. Verizon's one. And let's see here. Bullish crossovers. This list continues to grow as the day progresses, and you'll recognize a lot of these names. And almost every one of these charts is very similar. Apple, Apple, AT&T, Verizon. And if you look at something like AT&T, flash on down, snap on back. Right? And these big, nice little V-shaped recoveries for these stocks. And, with the new lows that have come in on them, very unusual to get a upside trigger with this type of move. But what we will tend to get is that if there's a 2, 3, 4-day pullback and then another upside crossover, that secondary crossover tends to give a nice signal. So we'll see, what is in the works there for that. But a lot of these stocks have made moves to the tune to where, okay, if we get a little pullback in the next few days or even a little more rally and then a little pullback, we could see some upside signals come in. But you can see Home Depot, looks like AT&T, and there are a lot of stocks like this out there in the market today. We don't have the market making a V-shaped recovery because we do have some lagging. We have some serious lagging out there, out of the banks, out of some of the travel stocks. American Airlines went green today, but barely. We're talking about S&P up 90 points. You take a look at some of the industrials that lagged here, over the last week. They're popping up a little bit. Things like UTX getting a nice little pop in it. Caterpillar, not so much. So it's more stock specific, Triple M, much more stock specific. There's a little bit more of a differentiation tune, to some of the uptick here today. Now, in terms of the overall market uptick here today, and it looks like, Baba's pulling back a little bit. Yeah, that option filled too fast for there not to be a small pullback here. So hopefully that means everybody gets a better price than I did. But if we look at the overall market, and what it did here this afternoon or this morning. We had this kind of 40-point drop, 40-point pop, right? We've been used to those. And then we go through this period for about an hour and a half where the market is chopping through about a 12-point range. And normally that's pretty heavy, right? That's a pretty strong range. But considering what the market's been the last week and a half, it's one of the longest time periods it's gone with being semi-stable. And a lot of times what we will see is that after those periods, when we get into a market that's a big mover, when we go through a period where there's some semi-stability, the next move is going to be to the upside in the short run. And that's what we have seen here today, with the market. And, if we get another day where we see semi-stability, it will favor the bulls. But again, it's one where, we're talking about stability in a very relative fashion here overall. But one of the things the market is starting to do on these strong downticks, it's creating higher lows and creating some higher highs. We'll see if this one turns into a higher high, but we do have some of that coming in the short term here this week. We don't see the market metrics moving in a big way. It's not something where the market vibe is turning bullish. I mean, the bullish percent index is up marginally. The VIX is contracting a little bit, but still up above 30. If we look at the number of stocks above the 7-day moving average, we are seeing a move in this where, earlier last week we didn't see a move. Take a look at this. This has moved from that down into the 30 and 40 level all the way up to the 60% level. So we were looking at 30 to 40 stocks, now 313. This is the type of move that tends to happen ahead of a bullish signal coming into the market vibe. And so we could see that. We could see that come in. We don't have the same type of massive uptick when it comes to stocks trading above the 20-day moving average. We've only jumped up to 70, so it's not like we have a huge move there. It's a decent move, but it is one where the market vibe has moved up to -5 here today, from being -8. So, we have a little bit of a move here. We could see the market vibe turn bullish on another 2-point move in the market vibe tomorrow. That's what it would take. We'll see if that comes in. We'll see if that comes in and how that plays here. And if it does, I'll look to play it with some SPY options, if they're priced, decently there. Okay. All right, so bottom line into Alibaba on a bullish challenge signal here this afternoon. Again, I don't expect a ton of price stability. This is a stock that has traded within a 13-point range, and most days it is traded within about an 8-point range on the day. So I'm not expecting a ton of price stability, here out of this. It's one where I know there are some of you, we make a challenge trade and you pop that 1-minute chart on and you're watching every 30, 40 cent move trying to figure out what's it mean. There's just not going to be significance in it. And so please keep that in mind when it comes to Alibaba and, with the rest of stocks that are out there. The movement is just a little bit different paced right now. But, worst case scenario comes into Alibaba. We're still in a good position for the challenge, so I don't feel like this position is putting the challenge at risk in a big way. But it does add some nice reward potential to the challenge. Should there be, some more rebound in, in equities, and more specifically, in the case of Baba, Chinese internet equities, here. Thanks for hopping on. Have yourselves a fantastic evening, and we will talk to you tomorrow. Take care.